Welcome, Warrior. This is Friday, and I wanted to do kind of a follow up end of week what we should be looking at because so much is breaking in the field of exploitation, society, just all over. I thought, let me get a few thoughts out to you. One big take action. I'm going to need all of you, if possible, to help with us, the Warriors. But first, I always want to check if you can hear me. We have 5x5s. I see Edie is here. And Edie, thank you for always reminding everybody to hit the thumbs up, the like button, because that goes for the Warriors. Think of all the kids. Okay, Flojo says, "Hey everyone, I guess you can hear me." Somebody say something. There's a little lag here, but eventually it catches up the chat. There, Edie says 5x5. That is good enough for me. Welcome and thank you for being here. No, I want to start with something. Thank you, Flojo, coming off of this horrendous event that happened in Minneapolis this week with children. Thank you, Lionel Nation, loud and clear, 5x5. And that is, well, what we all know and is unfolding. But it happened in a church. With that, I did an interview yesterday that's posted with a Father Peter Spiro. And I was doing that interview anyway, I had lined up because I had met Father Spiro in Virginia when I emceed. I hosted the Virginia Human Trafficking Summit for their Attorney General, Jason Miyares. And I met Father Spiro there. And he, it was tough because I was on the stage the whole time introducing people and transitioning the different panel discussions and things of that nature. But at any rate, Father Spiro, never met him before, was sitting there all these hours, just intently watching and watching and watching. And I thought to myself, I got to at some point grab him. I got to start talking to him and find out what he's about and why he's here and what he's doing. And we did have a break for about 15 minutes at one point towards the end of everything. And I spoke with him and said the conversation must continue. So I'm urging all of you, please go back when you have some time, look at this interview because Father Spiro has a very unique job. First of all, he represents the Greek Orthodox Church and the whole archdiocese of the Greek Orthodox Church. So we talked about that a little bit. But what he does, his job is so unique. He is, he is the chaplain for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. He's the director of the FBI's program called the Protect Program, and that is bringing together law enforcement, advocates, nonprofits, elected officials into this one program. And he also runs his own foundation helping human trafficking survivors called Aristevi. Okay, I'm going to put this actually in the body of this video later. And he also runs for the Greek Orthodox Church their Freedom Ministry, which is about human trafficking. So he has this unique position of having all of these jobs. And he's married because you're allowed to be married, Greek Orthodox, and he's got 3 children. But here's the point of why I'm telling you all of this. I want you to listen to the interview, though. I don't like the word interview, our conversation, because he's just an interesting person doing interesting advocacy and work. And we're always talking about collaboration. And I'm always saying true collaboration. There's not enough true collaboration. What I thought would be easy, this subject matter, children especially, everybody would get on board. Democrats, Republicans, right, left, independents, I don't care. And they don't. There's very little true collaboration. I am proud to say I am finding my warriors and we are forming our collaborations. And great big shout out. I think they know who they are. And we are working collaborating and we're getting the work done. And I wish everybody would follow. This is the one thing I know that I am doing completely right is the way I'm thinking about trafficking, exploitation, this slavery at that community level. But I was thinking, what if and I talked to this with Father Spiro, what if every place of worship, every church, every synagogue in the United States took on a human trafficking program and helped house all of these victims? There's Liz Solak. Welcome. Welcome, Liz. Liz has been with us from the beginning. But let me get back to this place of worship thought. Easily, and remember, all of the stats you look up are basically the numbers are always lower than what's actually happening. But I looked up and I found about 21,000 legitimate. I feel like the number should be higher, but that's what I saw. I'll do a little more investigative work. This was 5 minutes ago, which is why I was a couple of minutes late. Uh, 21,000 places of worship recognized in the United States. Does seem like the number should be higher, right? I'd like to know your thoughts on that. But anyway, if every one of those 21,000, we'll just use that as an example, had a human trafficking program, one for children and the awareness and for the community, and also for the adults, the parishioners, and also to teach priests, nuns, rabbis collectively. Because it's so piecemeal right now. It's this law enforcement will have some training. This church will have some training. That synagogue might have some training. We need almost, and I said this to Father Spiro, a national handbook. I actually said to him he should do it. A national handbook where we're all on the same page. But if every place of worship in the United States had this type of program, do you know what we could solve? What we could solve and the people we could take in. And then we also have to think about, tougher thing for the big cities, right? You know this, warriors. But we also have to think about the church, the synagogue, the place of worship, whatever it may be, being that hub in the community. So for all of those children, because there's Fred. Fred, what a wonderful surprise, Mrs. L. Thank you. I'm trying to do a lunchtime, mix it up a little bit in our busy schedule. So thank you, everybody, for joining. And Fred, I'm glad you're here. I feel like I can't do one of these lives without you, Fred. But let's get back to the church. So I asked Father Spiro. I said, you know, we always talk about training the parents, raising awareness with kids. But here's my question, Father. There are a lot of children out there that don't have a responsible parent, or they live in a single parent household. Their mom or dad may have 2 or 3 jobs, or they may have a drug-addled, parent. They are basically on their own, these kids. And I say this because we've always known all of this, right? But I am inundated on a daily basis. Stories come to me, press releases, FBI reports, law enforcement reports, reports from Washington of kids being so horrifically abused by their parents that I can't even believe these types of monsters even exist, okay? But still, we have a lot of kids fending for themselves in terrible situations. We know if they run away, they fall victim. We used to say 48 hours to traffickers, pimps, creeps, criminals. We now know it's 24 hours. We know if kids are put into the system, we know that system is another form of exploitation. That system has to be CPS, whatever it's called in your state, in your neighborhood. That system is not working. It is, for the most part, I'm sure there are a few good people working on things and a few good homes, but for the most part, they do not work. Teenagers especially, if they are further exploited or they come from these crazy backgrounds, they run, right? But Father Spiro was pointing out to me, because I was asking him, what are we going to do about all these kids that are vulnerable and have no place? We can't train them or their parents about trafficking. They're trying to put food on the table, or they're trying to survive, or they're trying, I'm talking horrible situations, and there are a lot of them, and it's occurring in every state. So what can we do, Father Spiro? He said, Lynn, I think we really have to get the church or the synagogue, whatever the place of worship is, back as the center of town. Because he said, it used to be, that's the way it was, and homes were built around the church. And I thought, a simple answer, but actually for kids who have nothing, families who have nothing, or just vulnerable, and everybody's vulnerable, right? These days, in my opinion, everything seems very overwhelming, extra overwhelming in the last few months, actually. These kids could have, an after-school program, at the church, or they could have a food pantry at the church. And I know churches are doing this, synagogues as well, but we need to have more of it in every community, because when I'm reading, and that was at a quick glance, 21,000 places of worship. We know there's more. Can you imagine all the people that could truly be helped? And those in the community who say, like to me, I want to help, but I don't know what to do. You might want to buy a couple of cans of soup, and then you've done your duty, right? You might want to volunteer. You might want to, the slightest thing, every little thing, if it's $1, we'd like $1,000,000 so we can get safe spaces. But if we could create in these places of worship, these safe spaces, and again, I know it's being done in some of the places, but it's not being done in all of the places. Again, that gets into sort of this mandatory, which I don't like the word mandatory, anything. But we have an American crisis, which Father Spiro agrees with me. This American crisis has caused a national security crisis, because the trafficking, when it's broken down all the way down the chain, is run by the cartels, is run by these pimps. Now are working, a lot of them, with the cartels that were allowed to come into our country and flood it. You know what I'm talking about. And they're here. They're embedded in our society. They've infiltrated every middle and high school to get our American kids. They give them a few dollars to get them to sell their dirty drugs, to get them to traffic their peers. It is out of control. So if we could start pulling back, and if all of you listening, if you do go to a church, if you do go to a synagogue, a community center, we have to start thinking about all those kids, and even kids who, because of the state of the mental health crisis we have going on with all kids, where this could be a gathering spot, a safe space. We talk about safe spaces. Every survivor, victim of human trafficking I've ever spoken to or worked with has said to me, the first thing, they are happy when they're extracted is, I'm in a safe space. I'm in a safe space. And then they usually want, even grown women, a teddy bear, a stuffed animal, something to clutch and hold in that safe space and put their head on a pillow. And they've said to me repeatedly, and ones that don't know each other, you have no idea, to put my head on a pillow with a roof over my head in a clean bed, what this feels like. So we forget how lucky we are, and we forget most of us have beds, right? A roof over our head and things like that. But it has become such a crisis we have to take care of in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying go build a safe house. Well, that would be nice though, but we're working towards that. But everybody doing something. So Fred says, pass the collective plate in the churches, congregations, set aside for these special projects. Yes, Fred. Or, they take in so much money, right? A lot of these places. Yes, let them have a designated fund. At least start at the ground level of having, and I'm talking free, okay? Because parents, guardians, everybody's overwhelmed financially. Have a place where kids could go after school. So if you have a working mom, you don't have to worry about childcare, and you don't risk, because there are a lot of kids taking care of themselves. And that is not safe. That's where these traffickers move. I don't like that word. These criminals move in. And we also, I want to remind everybody, and you're not seeing it in the media, we have a lot of stories of actual, in real time, following kids from school. They've watched them go to school. They know their patterns. They're following school buses. I wish everybody, as horrible as this is, we got to talk about it. It's the reality. Following school buses. So if a child gets off a bus, there's lots of stories like this in a very rural area, a long driveway, has to walk around the corner through the woods or something. Kids are getting grabbed. Walking to town, to the little market. Nobody's really covering. Every once in a while, a story gets out. We have a lot of stories of kids with their moms or family members in malls or in places like a Walmart, a Target, being followed. And that is why at this back to school time, I get so angry, because I say, we have to do everything in our power to thwart all of this predation, because it is a national crisis. Fred delivers. Thank you, Fred, so much for gifting 10 Lynn's Warriors memberships, because like I always say, that is what helps us the most, that we can share the information. And then those who receive the information, I am urging you, I'm actually begging you today, to share some of the information you hear or we post. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. You know where to find us. Everything's Lynn's Warriors. I made it easy. You are all my warriors out there. You are Lynn's Warriors. but thank you, Fred. Post some of the information, because if one person, here's how we have to think of all this. If one person learns something, thank you, Fred. If one person learns something, if one person helps another person, if one person understands how to talk to their child or just talks to their child, one thing a day, we have done our job. So everybody think like that at the Warriors. Think, because if we think about, which many people will say to me, Lynn, how do you do this constantly? How do you think about this? How do you think about children? How do you, and I really have to make these, little compartments in my mind. This goes here, this goes here. I got all these little compartments, little apartments, whatever you want to call them. And the helping of the one person or child a day is what empowers me to keep going. And you have to think, streamline it like that. Or you just simply, you can't go on because it's too much. It's too horrific, the information I'm hearing, things I'm seeing, things I'm being told, with seemingly no end in sight. So realistically, we do want to end human slavery, the enslavement of people. Is that going to happen? I gotta be honest with you. Not during our lifetime. I mean, it's just not going to happen. But what we're going to do is educate more people. We're going to intervene. We're going to give tools out. We're going to give resources. We're going to take actions so we don't have new victims. Or so you are just aware. Why are we allowing predators, criminals, to control our kids? I know we have the internet. I know I'm going off on tangents and digressing all over the place. But I want to get back to that church or that synagogue or that community center as a hub in that community. And again, I know it's tough in the cities to do this. It shouldn't be that tough. A basement of a church, somewhere where we have some adults that can volunteer some time. We need to mentor kids. We need to just be with them. We need more than anything. You know what we need to do? Listen to kids. Let them talk. Instead of us always saying, do this, do that. Hurry up. We got to go here. We got to go there. Number one, kids are overscheduled. Too much going on. We have to, Father Spiro and I were talking about this. We got to let everybody breathe. Let everybody, relax a little bit. Too much scheduling with kids. That being said, you have to talk to them. And if it's 10 minutes a day, it's 10 minutes a day about the issues of the day. Maybe they saw something on their phone. Maybe they had an interaction online. You want to get into conversation with them about that. Maybe you're picking them up from school. They're in the car. Maybe you don't have kids, but you have neighbors. Or you have friends who are grandparents or parents, and you bring it up in conversations. It is really all it's our duty to talk about these issues. So that is a plan we're working on. Father Spiro is wonderful. He comes out of Chicago, and I like him even more when I found out he is an avid musician and plays guitar and specializes in Van Halen. We got to mix it up. We like music. We like arts and things like that. But his vision is the vision that I have with the Warriors. So this is new collaboration, right? So if you don't put yourself out there, you're not going to find out about things. I never heard about Father Spiro. I don't know him, and all the work I do and all the travels. Never met him. And then I met him in Virginia. And we're like-minded and have the same goals to chip away. And I call it chipping away with all of this horror. Yes, Flojo, Van Halen rocks, literally. But it's nice to throw in a little 80s kind of stuff going on. But let's think about that. Community centers, church basements, or the community room at the church, at the school, where we have to start. I will be speaking to Father Spiro more about this. He really travels the entire country representing the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese. And he said this will work. We need a safe space for all kids to go, whether they're in kindergarten up until, through high school, where they feel confident. We have to provide for them. And we have to have safe people volunteering. That's the other thing. Safe people. Because again, every single day I'm inundated with, let's see, I just got an FBI, I actually posted it yesterday, an FBI alert that a child chiropractor, something like that, they had to arrest him. He was abusing kids. And we certainly have a slew of teachers. We get the stories. And we certainly have different doctors and coaches and people in the church. So I feel like it's all around us. And that brings me, we're at a holiday weekend, right? If anybody's traveling, eyes and ears. You stop at rest stops along the highway. First of all, I'd like anybody, if they could, we're supposed to have signs in bathrooms about trafficking with the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Now, that being said, and also the texting, that being said, it's tough because most people in that situation don't know they're being exploited. They don't know they're being trafficked. They're scared. They maybe can't read English, or they can't read a sign over a toilet or something. They may have a minute alone because that trafficker, I don't want to say that criminal, that horror thing, whoever's doing this is watching all the time. But if anybody sees any of these signs, I do have a lot of warriors send me from airports, definitely. I always want to know. It's supposed to be up. And we're also trying to get those signs moved into like the 7-Elevens, very visible at the checkout. So get them out of the bathrooms even. It went into bathrooms. The thinking was there's privacy. I'm here to say a lot of women are involved in this trafficking, okay? And so even if they have a man on top of them, they're bringing the girls and women and kids into the bathrooms and watching them. So we have to have more signage all around. I haven't given them a shout out in a long time, and I want to. It was one of the first interviews I ever did, Truckers Against Trafficking, TAT, T-A-T. And they do a wonderful job at all the truck stops, rest stops, because that's a main place where kids are exchanged. Things go on in the trucks, all kinds of stuff. So just a shout out to them. They do wonderful trainings for, like the UPS, FedEx, moving companies. They are major. So Truckers Against Trafficking, we support them wholly. I'm going to get them back for an interview because it's time. They were actually my first, and a lot of family members work at Truckers Against Trafficking. And this is the kind of thing we want to hear more of. We want to get more of the public involved. Just even in the signage aspect, they have free tools and resources as far as what all this is for your community. So those are the kind of things we need help with. Let me just see. Fred says, Tennessee has some interesting intervention projects regarding trafficking victims. Yes, Fred. And right now, Father Spiro is based in Tennessee. And of course, my first question was, Father, have you been to Dollywood? Because I'm trying to get to Dollywood. I don't know if anybody here has been to Dollywood. I've yet to get there. I will get there, but I haven't been there yet. Tennessee, though, you have Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator Marsha Blackburn has been proactive. She has been a part of all of our bipartisan legislation in Washington to keep kids safe, and also active on her state level. But now she announced very recently that she's running for governor. Does everybody know that? In Tennessee. So we'll be losing her, perhaps, in the Senate. And being that she's such a strong advocate, I do have concern, because who will fill her boots, so to speak? A lot of people have gone a little bit quiet in the Senate, in the House, on this subject, we've noticed. Now, granted, they're just coming back, Congress, from their month-long recess. Of course, I always say, desperate times call for desperate measures. I don't think people should be getting a whole month off who work for us, and we've got all these problems going on. I mean, I could see a day or two or a long weekend, but I don't think we should be shutting everything down. But that's what happens in Washington. My last trip recently, kind of a ghost town. I mean, it was nice because, you get to the train station very quickly and things like that. But we have too much going on. So they will be back next week in full swing, and that's when we're gearing into, for the rest of this session, the Kids Online Safety Act. I'm going to need everybody's help. I'll keep you aware of that. We're going full steam in. It passed 91-3 in the Senate. We got to deal with the House now. We've had some revisions. We got to keep going. Because remember, when something doesn't get passed, a piece of legislation, you just don't start again with the new Congress or whatever. You got to start from the bottom all the way. It's very counterproductive, but that's what happens. These are the rules. I guess we got to stick with these rules for now. But Marsha Blackburn has been very instrumental in being so supportive, talking about the issues. Well, I think she only goes on Fox. I'm not sure, but I get her newsletter every week. I see a lot of Fox hits here, but we'll take any kind of press we can get about any of these issues. But yes, and then Father Spiro's in Tennessee doing his freedom ministry, working with the FBI. So they are doing a fairly good job. Liz, let me just go to Flo. Joe says this missing children and teens thing is getting really bad. I see it more and more all over Facebook and everywhere else. Don't know what the hell is going on. Well, we do know. First of all, because it's happening. We have youth mental health crisis, number one. We have kids running away. We have kids, youth mental health crisis, isolating, turning to their phones and laptops and gaming, dealing with strangers who are lying to their faces and telling them they're beautiful or they're understood or come meet me, and they're falling victim to this. And this is the part I don't understand, because we're telling you, listen, a phone, any of these devices, and we know kids have access, 9 to 17, to 4 devices, right? The Chromebooks, the phone, the laptops, the iPads, the gaming, all of this stuff. 4. Could be 5. That's what the study says, 4, right? Remember, things are always higher. And so if we know this, why aren't we doing a better job collectively as a nation to take care of our kids? And that goes back to what I was talking about with Padre, as he likes to be called, Father Spiro, with this hub in each community that is free for overworked and overwhelmed parents and guardians who can't pay monies, where we all contribute to the food pantry, where we all contribute as volunteers, vetted, of course, highly vetted, okay, whoever's working around kids, okay, parents who are able to take a turn being there, almost like that class parent, if any of you were that in the day, and still may be. I don't even know if they have class parents anymore, but we have to get back to those community roots in order on that level. Forget about everything I'm telling you at the federal government with that red tape. We will be fighting. We'll be in the streets. We'll be calling them out. We'll be in front of Congress. We'll be at the White House. But I want everybody else, we'll do that in their community, in their home. This is where we need the work done, okay? And our kids need our help. So what we have to do is figure out a plan how we can do this in our communities. Again, I'm jumping all over, but when I see Liz Solak saying we should do a group trip to Dollywood, I mean, it's not a bad idea, because I rarely say I really want to go somewhere. I want to go to Dollywood. Dollywood will put a big smile on your face. Well, you see, that's what it's all about in life. We got to get a smile where we can get a smile. The work we do is very intense at the Warriors. We do a lot of things you never even hear about. It's 7 days a week. We do like to work. We have people depending on us at different times. It's not easy just to take off and go somewhere. But I'm going to figure it all out. Before I hit 80, I'm going to do it. We'll talk about a Warriors road trip, Dollywood. But there's so much that we can do. And also, so the kids are falling victim, you all know this, from the internet, which is why my soul right now is hurting because of AI, artificial intelligence. Our coalition is gearing up. We are not trying in any way to shut anything down, take it away, invade somebody's privacy. We simply want these big tech companies to be very transparent and have some guardrails for kids. The very least they can do, you know, and I know there's censorship, okay, online. All right? There is. That's it. If there is a rape video, and that's what they are, because they're on every single platform if you know where to look. We're not talking dark webs or anything. They are there. And things sexual in nature, drug related, you know, our kids are constantly swiping. And eventually, they don't even mean it, or they research a word. I've used the example like Apple. And by like the 4th click, they're led into eating disorder videos and this and that videos. I'll teach you how to have an eating disorder. I mean, horrific things. And look what happened in Minneapolis. The video was posted and allowed to run for, I don't know, I heard 20 minutes, I heard 10 minutes. I don't know what it is. All I know is innocent little precious angel babies were gunned down in church from the outside. All I know is there is one child right now clinging to life. Many others were hurt, including 3 elderly people. This person, nobody saw any signs of anything. Can parents, I would want to, as hard as it is, because parents don't like to do this, if my child, I would want to get my child help. That's what I will say. Instead of letting this fester. The father has come forward and said this person just broke up with their significant other. And you know what I said when I came across a press release of mine? I don't care. I care about the precious little babies. Innocently. Parents drop them off for school mass. Parents go back, what, half hour later? Your child's not alive anymore? And the families and the trauma. Because you don't heal. You really don't heal. This is a lifelong. Think of all the effects this coward caused. And so our kids are witnessing all of this. How are they dealing with that? How are we dealing with it? The other day when we did a live, I suggested everybody speak to their children. It's up to you how you want to speak, but you have to reassure them. They're safe with you today, safe with you tonight. Now, I say this to you because, again, I'm referencing Father Spiro a lot, but I'm thinking about a lot of things we spoke about yesterday. Again, I want you to go back and look for that interview on the Warriors channel, right? I just posted it. I guess it was last night I posted it. We used to say, like, you're safe with us. But then I got to thinking, this coward shot from the outside of the church through the windows. Kids are not safe. We have to face the reality. This is not scare tactics. This is the reality. We need, and I say this should be mandatory, and this is when I will use the word mandatory. Every place of worship and school, I am sorry, the days of leaving the church doors open cannot be. The synagogues here in New York are very well protected. I passed the 2 largest ones here in the city a lot, in my walking to meetings and things around town, and they are heavily guarded. Why aren't we doing that with all of our places of worship? And I don't want to hear about, we don't have the resources and the money, okay? The Catholic Church certainly had a lot of money for a lot of other things. I'll leave it at that. These are our children, our families. And it has to be just part of everything today. Cameras. Steel doors, perhaps. Yeah, not perhaps. Steel doors. Push out, can't push in, one way in. Metal detectors. You need armed guards. And when people push back and say, I don't want that around my children, there are schools right now employing security and they have them dressed as janitors because they don't want to scare the kids. I think it's time they're seeing so much online and hearing so much stuff and hearing about these shootings and all that. Let's just get it in line, everybody. And we need visuals of people standing guard. I'm sorry, with a weapon. That is the way we feel at the Warriors. We need to protect all of our angels, all of our families. Okay. And Liz says, and no windows at ground level, but Liz, a lot of these old churches, I mean, how are they going to move windows or something? I guess you put steel over them. But we have to have protection around, the guards. But there was a very good, I can't take credit for it. I've thought about it a lot. And then I started hearing it yesterday where a retired law enforcement would be very happy. A lot of them in New York retire. They start very young. They're retired in their 40s. And they go on and do other jobs and security and all this kind of stuff. They would be more than willing for their community to step up and take on these roles of being the security. And it was also suggested by one host that they be given tax breaks. So this sounds perfectly reasonable to me. So they may not be paid, but they're getting some sort of tax break. But law enforcement we deal with, I'm going to say to you, they would be so proud to protect their community and protect children and families. There are solutions. There are more solutions for human trafficking. They're not being employed. So I don't know where I started with all of that, but now we've got the AI. And getting back to kids, we've got to protect our kids. They are the future adults, the future leaders of our country. And what are we doing? We are dismissing them. We are leaving them open to all this craziness. We are not helping them. If we don't get a hold of this, and I mean like right now, I can't imagine. They're already predicting with AI, tech, and all of this. I am so angry that this, at the federal level even, is allowed to be going on. A lot of the things, I'll leave that for another program, happening. Because we can't, at our community levels, crime. Now, that being said, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. We need armed guards for children at school. Yeah, we do. Who wants to see? I'll tell you the first time after 9/11 here in New York, and I actually remember because I started, like, automatically I started to cry. I don't cry easily. Believe you me, I don't. I cry over children. I don't cry. But right after 9/11, all over New York City, I started seeing, let me think who they were. I guess they were Marines. They had big, long, I'm not a gun person, everybody, but big, long rifles and machine guns strapped across their bodies, with all this stuff hanging off their bodies. And it was such a jarring for me visual all of a sudden that my beloved New York City, that was 2001, seeing this. But that's a long time ago. Look, almost 25 years ago already, right? 24 years ago. Things have changed. We have to all agree things have changed. This is a new world, and we have to be in control. This being said, I was on a phone call with the White House yesterday, and their Caroline Leavitt presents what's going on in the administration, things to look out for, different things we work on. And she said the number one thing with the administration right now is President Trump, crime. And who could disagree with that? In all of our communities, we are all affected. Crime, everything stems from it, right? Even the trafficking. It's not simply sex or labor trafficking. These trafficked people, right? Forced for coercion. They're forced into retail theft, which is being run by organized crime, cartels in a massive way. It's not just some guy walking into CVS, some teenage kid, and stealing a bunch of Dove body wash, okay? They are, some of them are trafficked and forced into that. Some of them are part of these groups, this retail theft. A lot of the trafficked people are the ones forced into trafficking. We know in Nigeria, they chain them to tables. They are trafficked. And then they are put into these scams, where they're calling America and scamming people out of money, or they've got the 2 seconds of the voice and they're calling grandma, and little Johnny's in jail and, the Amazon or something, because they see on Facebook that little Johnny posted, I'm taking a college trip to the Amazon. They know all your information. Those people are trafficked. We have drug. Most of the girls and women that are trafficked are forced into dealing weapons, drugs, because remember, that person on the top, he's not getting his hands dirty. He's forcing, okay? So it's an overall crime. You saw what happened in Washington. How I believe it, right? Like how the crime has dropped. And you know why I believe it? Because my sources in Washington, Democrats and Republicans, I want everybody to bear in mind, both tell me we are so happy with all of this. We are so happy about all of these tents and things cleaned up and the graffiti being scrubbed away. And we have patrols on the streets and the carjackings have stopped. And we can walk out of that office. Now it's starting to get dark earlier, right? We'll keep getting darker and darker up through December. We can walk out of the office now at 8 at night because it's dark already at 8 and not feel like we're going to get, robbed. So crime. I don't have to tell you, I'm in the middle of New York City, another program. Crime. In your community on some level, crime. So we have all of that I want everybody to think about. But here's my call to action. So think about, if you have any ideas, certainly always write to me, please, lynn@lynswarriors.org. Follow our website for the take actions and toolkits, linswarriors.org. You know the drill by now, Lins Warriors, because I want you. You're all my warriors. I want everybody to keep an eye on the tech neck that I made a video about, where the kids are now starting to show up with the bent necks and the back aches and the spines curving because they're constantly looking down at their phones or their devices. And the head is basically 10 to 12 pounds. But when they this is what the article, and this is what this doctor was quoted as saying, two doctors, when you bend the head at this certain angle, it then creates 60 pounds like on the vertebrae. So we got to, and we're still looking at our phones. They suggest at eye level instead of bending over, eye level posture. That's a little PSA. But also we have something back to school also. No pictures, online enticement. Would anybody know? Actually, I want to quiz you right now before we leave. Liz says, I don't think it couldn't happen to any one of us. It's not just children that are trying. Of course, Liz, I focus on kids because I'm trying to get in there to like educate the adults, to take care of the kids, our future adults. It's happening to everybody. I can't tell you the amount of adults that get scammed from this organized crime. It's a little bit different from the trafficking. The billions of dollars a year Americans are paying out because they're scammed. But again, it's related back to trafficking, a lot of it, because those are trafficked people that are forced into, they have a script in front of them, scamming. I feel like America's like getting scammed all over, and we're allowing it to happen. Like we're getting stepped on all over. We got to push back. Yes, everybody has to be careful at all times. Parking lots, you know this, everybody. You go in an Uber, you go in a Lyft, you be very careful about everything. You go out alone, you make sure, especially women and girls, we have to tell them, here we have such a rash here in New York about, they have a law, they want to do this law. I think it's a good law. Drinks in restaurants and bars come automatically with a cover on it, because so many, and law enforcement tells me there's so many are getting drugged in their drinks. And that's been going on for a long time, but it's happening now a lot. So we have that going on, okay? We've got fentanyl going on. We do have the president just unleashed his Make America Fentanyl Free. I am hoping to interview somebody from that organization. I just put out the request today. I want to find out, at least we're talking about it, what exactly we'll be doing. I did see the first PSA for it today on Fox. I will admit I had Fox on in the background, and I saw a PSA. So that's good. We have to do PSAs and get it out somehow to the public. Flood the internet, flood the streaming, flood the movie theaters when you go in for a movie, flood the billboards all along the highways, flood, because people are visual. Okay, let me see where we are. Fred says, you work so hard, Mrs. L, you need to find some time to relax and rejuvenate. Fred, by being here, talking to all of you, this is my relaxation, my rejuvenation. Here's my call to everybody. I don't want to give out too many details right now, but I do want you, if you are interested and in the New York area and able, I need warriors to attend something with me and some others. It's all very careful. There's no danger involved. It would be a couple of hours beginning around 10 in the morning. And yeah, I want you to write to me, but I actually would need people, and it has to do with all the work we do. We need some warriors to join us, and that would be on September 19th. Yes, I'm coming back from Washington. I'm part of a Senate roundtable on September 18th. This event is September 19th. So I know I'm not giving you many details, but if you're in the New York area and have a couple of hours and want to be a warrior, you will be welcomed. You will write to me. If you want to get a few more details, lynn@linswarriors.org, and I will fill you in that way. But Fred, I just want to go back to your comment that if I don't do the work or lead others, and you're all here, so you're doing the work with me by just talking about, listening to me, talking about, hopefully sharing, subscribing. Please subscribe to our channel. Please help us build algorithms. You know, these are tough subjects, right? I'm not unwrapping a curling iron. I'm not making a pizza. I'm not showing you my new handbag. You know, those are the things that get millions of hits. Warriors, it's about reality. It's about truth. It's about you. It's about America. So join me. Join me. Please subscribe to the channel. Please go look at Father Spiro's interview I did. I like to say discussion. I don't like the word interview. No, there are a lot of resources free for you, and understand that our hashtag is community creates change. And by you being here, you are helping us with all of that. So have a wonderful, safe weekend. I'm going to try to do a few more things over the weekend, just jumping on. So be on the lookout for that. I'm waiting for something coming in from a groundbreaking case I think they're finishing up today regarding the internet. We'll see what happens there. I'd like to share it as soon as it comes in. And know that we do have an administration. Everybody should be happy about crime being addressed head on. This is only the beginning. And also think about your communities, how we can get services for kids and help the parents along. We can do it, but only if we all stick together and we are warriors. So go out, enjoy the rest of your day or evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining. And you know what? When you wake up each and every day, I like to tell you, finish up with this: go out and be a warrior.